Oh, hold on. I forgot something, Bill. I'm sorry about this.
All right.
Now we're live. Now we're live. Okay. All right. We'll start again. Okay. Good evening, everyone. Can you guys see us now? Hello? I think we're on now. Let's see. Okay, we're back. We're on now. Okay, Monaco 64, second time. I'm sorry about this, guys. We're a little late. I hadn't clicked on the go live on my Zoom, and I was talking to Bill Murphy. He's the chairman of GATA. Yeah, and I've known Bill since around 2002. Bill has been trying to expose the rigging of the gold and silver market since 1999. And I couldn't think of a better person to have on tonight, especially with what went on last week as it pertains to GameStop and the Wall Street bets, boys, Wall Street bets, people on Reddit. So, Bill, could you tell us your background and why you started looking into the gold and silver market? I mean, I didn't even start looking into gold until 2002 when I bought a few Krugerrands. Before that, the only thing that people said about gold was that Nixon closed the gold window, and it didn't mean much to me at the time. And then I started learning more and more about it.
Well, I've been involved in the commodity market since the mid 1970s with some brilliant people. Dan Ritchie, who became the chairman of a major university, Ray Dalio, Bridgewater Associates, the largest hedge fund manager in the world. And Ray and I became good friends back then. And then I got involved with a guy named Frank Veneroso, and who was a brilliant guy known all over Wall Street. And he wrote a book called The Gold Book. And in the book, the essence of it was, he said the bullion banks, which no one had ever talked about ever, were short 8,000 tons of gold that they'd let out to a bunch of people, and they didn't have it. And nobody knew this in terms of the supply-demand fundamentals. Started my commentary, Le Metropole Cafe, in 1998. September, 2 weeks later, Long-Term Capital Management, the biggest hedge fund in the world at the time, or one of them, blew up. And Frank said they were short themselves 400 tons of gold, which if they had to buy back, or if it was for a client, could blow up the gold market. So the Fed got involved and had bullion banks such as JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs take over these short positions for the Fed. And a bunch of other things happened, and I realized this thing is rigged. So a subscriber of mine, Chris Powell, the editor of a daily newspaper, said, "I'm tired of you talking about it, screaming about it. Well, let's do something about it." So we formed the Gold Antitrust Action Committee in January, February of 1999, and we've been at it for 22 years, exposing the most heinous rigged operations in market history.
Okay, someone's saying here, am I too loud, Victor? Is that better now? Okay. Okay. How's my microphone now? Okay. The other, Bill, we've seen, I guess, over the weekend, a lot of talk about silver, that the silver dealers in the States are shutting door. They're not selling anything. I mean, I spoke to the dealer that I work with here in London. He says he's got plenty of silver. Do you think some of them don't have the supply?
Just got off a Zoom call with Chris Marcus and a bunch of fine people in the industry, and one of them was Andy Schechtman, and others. They're for the first time in 30 years, he had to shut down his operation until tonight the silver's all going. There
Oh, I
isn't
see.
any.
Okay, okay, very interesting. And
In
I
the
mean,
United States, the retail market is out.
I see. I've been telling my viewers for years that the only way to really beat these guys, the bullion banks, is to buy physical outside the system because Comex, they can change the rules and it's a futures market. I even have a mug here that says only physical gold and silver will slay the bullion banks. So yeah, and I saw that a lot of the talk on the message boards earlier this week was about buying First Majestic or SLV. It might help, but I think people really need to get into the physical. Could you go over that, Bill, and what you think?
Well, it's complicated because I've never trusted the SLV since they started because the custodian is JP Morgan Chase, the biggest crook and silver short going forever. So you never know really what they're doing. However, for me, and we can get into what's just happened here, this is a big deal because it's not just one thing. It's also it's absolutely buying physical silver in the retail market and whatever people want to do, but it's also buying the spot fund, or if they can, I know it's, I guess, a closed fund. I'm not sure what that means at the moment, but
Yeah,
SLV, I mean, even if they're somewhat corrupt and crooked, if enough people buy it, they have to respond by buying massive amounts of silver because at some point they're gonna go epic bankrupt, and I mean it's just not worth it anymore. So it's all a combination of things. I own First Majestic. Keith Newmeyer is a great guy. It's a pretty shorted market, which is why these Reddit people, the Robinhood people, went after it, took the price up sharply. I think it can go nuts because it's so undervalued. It's still ridiculous.
yeah.
So it's I've never seen anything like what's happened this weekend in terms of talk about silver. I've been at this, as we've discussed, quite a while. It's just extraordinary.
Yeah, I hope my microphone's better now, guys. Is that less loud? Let me know. Yeah, the other thing I wanted to talk about is this weekend. Sorry, not this weekend. This past week, I've had First Majestic for the last 6-8 months, and it started going up. And my brokerage account, which is a screen-based one, they're supposed to be one of the best in the country, in the UK. And I couldn't get on whenever like in the afternoon here after 2:30 when the US market opens, it was freezing. And
Exactly.
then,
It happened to me too.
yeah. And so,
But finally, it was just like that. It went back up again.
yeah, but for me, it took about an hour to go back up. And
Okay.
right in the beginning of the market, they wouldn't allow you to trade First Majestic.
Right.
And then I tried to call the broker and I was on hold for over 30 minutes and no one picked up. So I don't have trust in them anymore. So I later was able to get on to the platform, and unfortunately I liquidated all my mining stocks, not because I don't think they're going up, but I can't trust my money with a broker like that. So I think that's a problem there as well. I'm not trying to tell people to sell their mining stocks, but you really need to check your counterparty to make sure that even if you put the right trade on, that you're going to get your money back, or that you'll be able to trade.
Well, we all have different opinions. I have a lot of my money, in addition to physical silver, in all the mining stocks, First Majestic, Golden Minerals. I'm
Yeah.
loaded up. So I'm looking for those stocks to go bonkers.
Yeah, maybe I have to find another broker and then put some of my money into.
I mean, I just Schwab, TD Ameritrade, they were out, as I mentioned to you early. It was and I, what the heck is this? I mean, because I was checking into all my different positions and I couldn't get on the First Majestic to get a quote. But it didn't last too long, and then I wondered if it was a mistake. Now you just confirmed it to me.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, there. I wanted to show the viewers here. You probably know about this. Let me bring it up. I'm still getting used to doing this. It's about Paul Volcker back in the 1975. And I'll put it up here. Hopefully, it will show. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a letter that I found a few years ago on the internet from a guy at the Vatican Bank talking about how he was discussing with Paul Volcker, like in the beginning of September 1975, about the Vatican allowing the New York Fed, who was holding a lot of gold for the Vatican, to sell the gold. And look at where gold was at the time and what it did afterwards. Have you heard that story?
Yeah, there's been a lot of talk about it. I have, and I I go to Paul Volcker. Is my favorite quote for him is what he said: "Gold up is bad, gold down is good."
Yeah, and
That's a quote.
yeah, yeah, and what about also? I think it's got to do also with the LTCM failure and the gold, and I think it was in 1999. Goldman Sachs was still a private bank, and they were looking to go public. And a lot of people speculate that it was the sale of the bank, UK gold was done to help the bullion banks. Have you heard of that
Oh,
one too?
absolutely. I mean, this is what that what happened was God was getting going. We were getting a lot of attention from certain people, and of course, most of the people talked about the conspiracy nut situation, which bores me half to death. And we were going on. We're doing our thing for a few months and traveling and all kinds of stuff, getting some attention. And then I think it was on May 8th or something like that. The Bank of England decided to sell half their gold reserves and announced it ahead of time. Nobody ever does this if you want to get a high price for your gold. So people like James Turk, the legendary James Turk, and others who said, God is right. Nobody ever does this unless the gold market is rigged. So that put God on the map, and of course they got half their gold at ridiculously low prices, and back then it was $300 an ounce.
Yeah. What do you think? I don't know where silver's going to open. Some people talking about 30, I guess, is the key resistance.
Yes, it
But
is.
what do you think is going to happen to gold? Because the last couple of days of last week, gold rallied as well, and then at the end they just sold it
That's
down.
because they could, and that's what they always do. I call this group the bullion banks, central banks, U.S. government, the gold cartel. And this is what they do over and over again. This thing with the GameStop thing and the Reddit Robinhood crowd and the attention that silver has got this weekend, it's more this weekend than in the last 20 years put together
Yeah.
in 2 days. Phone calls, emails, stuff going out, zero hedge. I mean, everywhere, the silver
Yeah.
squeeze. I mean, by buying, again, it's not just, stuff on the internet. It's people trying to buy physical silver. And
Yeah.
it's exposing, if I may, this short position that these people have, which is horrendous. So that anything could happen. If it doesn't open up at 30, I'll be disgusted.
Yeah, and we've been talking in the bullion space how the bullion banks, they sometimes they come in during the day and they smash the futures and
Sure.
they sell, for example, 1 year worth of production. We saw as well that with GameStop, Melvin Capital, or the short position was 140% of the share floats of GameStop. But with gold and silver, it's even worse. I mean, they in London, where the LBMA is based, they rehypothecate many times over. So they're selling gold and silver that don't even exist many times over than GameStop's.
200 times. I've used
So,
100 times for 10 years when I did an interview in front of the CFTC. And if I may, I think this is so important. These young traders, or whatever they are, done what they've done and create attention in the financial news media like rarely seen in the financial markets. It's incredible because what they're able to do and take on these hedge funds when they only start crying when they lose is unbelievable. And that's something, the value of GameStop, for what I know, it's ridiculous. The difference between these internet stocks, I mean, not internet stocks, but what these people have done on these message boards is to take something that's ridiculous in terms of price earning stuff. The gold silver thing is real. Without it, it should go bonkers. You should have an event like this happen at any time because of something without all this new input that's the buying of silver and exposure. It's mind-boggling. Honestly, I've never, and what they're going to do to combat it, they're always there. They never go away. But they got a big problem. And there's no telling what the price can do after Jack's for openers, literally for openers tonight, if we open, but in the next week or 2 or 3 weeks, because they're going to try to do something to scare people out. But if this buying continues, they're done for. I mean, there's no telling what silver could do.
Yeah, and it could bring down. I think it was Eddie George. I think Jim Sinclair has it on his website. I think Eddie George said something about at the same time that the Bank of England had to announce the gold sales. He said quite a few trading houses, meaning the banks, were going to go under if they didn't bring the price down. So I think it will put the whole system under threat, because a lot of people don't realize that gold and silver used to be money, and if gold and silver go through the roof, it's like a barometer of the whole system.
That's exactly what it is. You nailed it. You used my term. It's the barometer of U.S. financial market health.
Yeah, and for the whole world, I guess.
And for the whole world, for that matter, that's true.
Because all fiat currencies are a derivative of the dollar, and that goes back to the Breton Woods, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I saw that. Yeah, one thing you said that I think I don't even I don't want to be disappointed. So I'm still waiting to see what happens. I don't expect gold and silver to go through to the moon tomorrow, because Rome wasn't built in a day, and I think it's going to take a lot longer. So I think people should calm down a little bit, because yeah. But one thing that was really interesting about the young, Wall Street bets people and their group on Reddit is that they've made people aware of how the system is rigged, and it's gone into the public now. Before them, it was just a group of people like you and I and my viewers, and now it's going to go into the public conscious. I think.
Well, that's why, if I may, I'm going to take the other side of the trade here. I will be disgusted if it doesn't go bonkers this week. Bonkers. I know what they're going to try to do, and I've been let down so many times over the years. I'm used to it, so I won't be surprised. But it should go bonkers if these stocks like GameStop can go bonkers. And that's really not. I mean, the company, from what I know, doesn't even make any money. You're talking about the most bullish setup in history in the silver market, in history.
Oh yeah.
And now they've got this coming in. So
yeah,
I will be totally disgusted if we don't go through the roof right away.
Yeah, yeah, I've been so disappointed, and that's why I'm more conservative. But yeah, but what this proves as well, because a lot of people haven't been able to source any silver, is that you need to do it like dollar cost average and not worry about the price. People, when it was at 25, they were worried, oh, I want to wait until it gets to 23, but now they're going to miss the boat. And like you said, if we go through 30, I mean, we could be up to 50 very quickly.
No, I've been talking about $100 silver for years, and I have been wrong, or early, let's put it that way. And it's just because of this manipulation. I can't stress this enough, and thank you for having me on. That's the big deal. This is for real, like never before, maybe in history, versus a lot of these other things that are happening that are wiping out this Citadel hedge fund, whatever, $2.5 billion. This silver thing is legitimate. Silver should be at 50 to 100 without any of this. Without any of this. I can't stress that enough.
Yeah, and if you look back at 1980, gold got to around 887 in January. Silver was at 50, and here we are, 40 years later.
Half of that.
Yeah, and even gold, though, with all the debt that's been created since then, gold should also be a lot higher. But I agree, silver should be even higher.
Well, if we go 850, whatever the number was, Gold is more than double that now, and silver's half.
Yeah.
That's how big a deal this is.
Yeah.
Mega, mega, mega.
Yeah. And what the other thing I was I was reading, because one of my viewers, because I had heard of GameStop before last week. I didn't really think much of it, but then on Wednesday I was contacted by one of my viewers, and he got me involved to look into it. And he said, "Oh, this is a movement." And I said, "What do you mean?" And he said, "Well, these traders, they want to make money, but they also want to screw Wall Street and the hedge funds." And then I looked into it, and he sent me a video of the guy who actually started looking at GameStop back in 2019. He's only about 34, and he's actually from Massachusetts. And I listened to, he started a YouTube video last year, YouTube channel, sorry. And he started, and he's very clever. He uses spreadsheets and everything. And he said, "I've been waiting for this for years." So
Good for him.
it's like us. We've been waiting for it for decades. And just because it hasn't happened doesn't mean we're wrong, because you know, they're going to have to keep printing more and more money, because once the market corrects, stock market, they're going to have to throw even more money into it. And if they don't, everything implodes. And if there's a deflationary collapse, most companies will go bankrupt. But if you're holding something that has no counterparty risk like gold and silver, it'll do well as well. So I think it's a no-brainer. Even if everything collapses and gold's still $1,000, but the Dow is at 100, you know, that's.
Well, there's no telling what could happen here. And you know, I feel very strongly about what I've talked about so far. But when it comes to the rest of these markets, I don't know, it's scary because, you know, the stock market collapse, they usually take gold and silver down if that happens. But you're so right. They've got to protect the pension funds. The stock market collapse, they're all going to go under. So they've got to prop things up. And now it's been exposed to gold's still in a shorted situation too. Nothing like silver, which is why silver's getting all the attention right now. But the whole setup is there. So all I know is I've been waiting for a day like this for silver to open up in another hour or two to see what happens for so long. And like you, I'm so used to being disappointed. But again, if this doesn't do it, you know, what the heck? We've been thinking there's been a shortage in physical silver and gold now for some time.
Oh, yeah.
So, and then all of a sudden, gold started to move, and then they went back into action again. And silver took off in July. And then they, you know, we finally got going up to close to 30, as mentioned. And of course, then they've been on top of it ever since. And now this is emerging again. And nobody knows. All I can say is the excitement over this is more in 2 days than I've seen in 20 years put together.
Oh, yeah. I remember about 11 years ago, Max Kaiser was going on about buy silver and crash JP Morgan. But at the time, there was still no social media, wasn't as big. I think it's really big now. I mean, we've been at this for a long time. You've been on the internet, but the social media has really made things pick up. We got a question here, Joker Alpha. Mario, for failed short sell, does GME get the in the money call? If hedge fund short does not trigger, who gets the fiat? 70 billion is up for grabs. I'm not sure. Do you want to? I'm not sure I understand your question there, Joker Alpha. Maybe do you mean that they're short calls, the hedge funds? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Maybe if you could repeat that. And we got another question here, Bill, from DB. Will dealers be shorting at open to more inventory sell or pre-market? When do they typically adjust positions for a retail business?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, right now, everyone is like, what the heck? All I know is I'd be petrified if I was short the futures market right now in silver. Petrified. I've been a big trader. I was a limited position trader at one point because nobody knows what's going to happen. The difference here is between this and the GameStop sort of thing is the buyers of gold and silver are taking on the richest and most powerful people in the world. The problem for these guys, they were short to begin with. They had a problem. And they've been trying to cover it up and cover it up. This comes out of nowhere. There's no telling what it can do. And I can't predict it. There's not one person that can predict it. But the attention to it, again, I'll be disgusted if it's not at least 30 bid.
Yeah, the dealers, I guess, the bullion dealers, I think one of the reasons people can't get silver this weekend, I think, is because a lot of the dealers, they don't have much stock and they source. You call them and they say, yeah, I'll do it at this price, and they'll deal on the weekend. But right now they don't know where the price is going to be. So unless they have stock, they won't sell to you. And I think tomorrow yeah.
You got it nailed. I'm sorry, I interrupted.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. And I mean, Gold Investments, a dealer here in London that I work with, and I give my my viewers, if they choose to, they can deal with them, and they have a promo code Monaco64. I spoke to Oliver Temple today, and he said they've got silver, so he can sell silver, but he doesn't have any Britannias. Silver Britannias, 1 ounce, but he said he's ordered 1,000. But who's to say he will have any silver left tomorrow when he opens? So it's going to be really interesting. I've been looking at that 30 level, which is, of course, the high from last year.
Right.
And there's a huge flag that's formed. And if you take the move up from like 11 in silver to 30, and you extrapolate that, you get to around $48. So I don't know how long it will take but 30, like you said, is a key level. And gold, I mean, we should be above 1900 this evening, later on.
I mean, I've never, again, and I'll say it again, I'll shut up, but I've never seen such excitement.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's off the charts.
Yeah. What about, didn't your brother used to be a precious metals dealer? Was he?
No,
is
he
he
still is.
involved?
Scottsdale Bullion and Coin in Scottsdale, Arizona. Yeah. Tim Murphy.
Yeah. Has he been busy as well?
Yeah. Well, the irony was, if I may, I mean, I don't want to get into political stuff because it's really something else, but I can mention that the QAnon people, which I'm not a fan of, although many of my followers are, so I mean, each to his own. When that went nuts about a week or two ago, and they said, and they're never right that I can tell, but that the government was going to be shut down and Trump was still going to be in this and that, and all kind of chaos, and gold's going to be reset, and maybe it will be. God bless them. It's going to go nuts. They went crazy buying gold 2 weeks ago.
I see.
It really was remarkable.
Yeah, and I saw a video from Donald Trump Jr. on Telegram this weekend, and he's got like 1 million followers there. I'm not a political guy, but I just want to look at things what they're doing. And he was going on a lot about GameStop and Wall Street bets, and he said that's just proof that the whole system's rigged. He said, my father proved that politics was rigged because when he was elected, they spent 4 years trying to get him out. And he found out the hard way that the system's rigged. And now we're finding out that the financial system is rigged. That's what he said, Donald Trump Jr. So I thought that was quite interesting.
It's about time.
Yeah. And I think also other industries like pharmaceutical, that's rigged as well. I mean, they haven't had to expose themselves to liability since the late 80s. So hopefully that will be exposed as well. So
one thing I've learned, I think I know what I'm talking about in gold and silver relative to most people. I don't know the rest, I'll leave to everybody else. But I know how rigged gold and silver have been, how suppressed they've been. It's an outrage. Looks like we were finally this year getting to the point when the bad guys were going to have trouble and have to, retreat. And then this thing comes out of nowhere. So we'll see what happens. Don't want to overstate it, or I guess I have overstated it. But I mean, it's just so exciting.
Oh yeah.
These past years in silver have just been horrible, horrible.
Yeah, I know. I mean, we got down to, I think it was 11 in March, which was amazing.
It's just a joke.
Yeah. Could you tell the viewers what kind of tactics Crimex could use to stop gold and silver. Even though I think, if people go for the physical, I think Comex will have a really tough time.
Well, they're always at it. It's, excuse me, something tough, difficult to put up with. One thing they can do is they can raise the margin requirements. They do this all the time to make it more expensive for investors to buy long Comex silver contracts. That's the biggest thing we do. They can limit the amount, they can limit positions, the amount of somebody can buy. They'll use everything in their arsenal in the book. That's why, as you're talking about, so this physical market has got to bury them.
Yeah, and because that will change everything if people go for the physical, because then they're gonna have to like cover their shorts, their paper shorts. And we saw last year as well with the lockdowns that a lot of wealthy, I think, family offices and wealthy people, they couldn't get gold and silver from their normal sources. So they said, oh, let's try Comex, not realizing that you're not supposed to do that. I mean, I was a futures and options broker. For some of my viewers might not know that. And the main market I traded was the bond futures, but we had a big Norwegian client back in like 2005 to 2008, where gold and silver went up a lot, and he did really well with silver. And I told him, you should take delivery. The guy was a billionaire, and I said, if you take delivery, the price could go up quite a bit. And I spoke to my boss about that. I've got a client and I think we should take delivery. And said, oh, don't even think about it. Gold and silver are just there. The futures are just to speculate. So even the brokers have been, conditioned just to not to encourage people to take delivery. But now with the lockdowns, this has changed, and it could. Where do you see the Comex inventory and how that could be cleaned out?
It's a great question. Great question, great point. I don't follow it that much because I don't even know what's real there or not. And so I used to study all these things as being a broker myself in the futures market, all these different details and go into this and go into that. These last years, I haven't found it to do any good, except what I do, which, I concentrate in the markets and certain things, and I listen to other people about tightness and what's really going on. So it's I don't really have an answer for that. So
because I heard someone talking about that the bullion banks, they short the futures for the producers, but I don't think that's totally true, because if you look at the commodity, the COT reports, commitment of traders, they have a section for producers, for the miners, and one for the swaps, which is bullion banks. So I don't think that's totally true. And why would a silver producer?
If I may, that's the reason we're in the trouble, is because of the bullion banks are the big shorts.
Yeah.
That's my opinion. I mean, I'm trying to, that's where I come from. They have ruined this market. And I'm hoping they get their butts nailed to them these next week or two.
Yeah. Joker Alpha's come back with the question, who's short the calls in GameStop? It's 70 billion worth. Well, I read, actually it was my wife. She loves listening to all this as well. And because my wife was, she worked for Barings Bank in the 80s and early 90s. Barings Bank went bust for Nick Leeson. So she knows about the markets. She said she heard that Citadel, who's supposed to fund Melvin, they are the market makers in the GameStop options. So I think it's Citadel, Joker Alpha, who's shorts, which is the hedge fund that actually bailed out Melvin Capital. So there you go.
$2.5 billion.
$70 billion. Yeah.
No, 2.5 billion.
Oh, that's what they bailed out. But apparently they have a 70 billion exposure to options, short options. Gur Oji from Norway asks, ask Billy how he sees short-term silver outlook, what he thinks. I think he's talking about my dog Billy. Now, have you seen him here? That's Billy. Because we joke on the channel that Billy is a silver bug. Now, Billy said this Billy here said he's just going to hold on to his silver. What about you, Bill?
I couldn't be more. I mean, again, I've been early, whatever, I said this earlier, looking for $100 silver for years.
Yeah, I know.
If it goes to 50, big freaking deal. I mean, that's nothing to me.
Yeah.
Nothing, because we already talked about $50 10, 11 years ago and 50, 40 years ago. And it's so corrupt and so artificially kept low that the surprise, and I hope I'm not wrong, is how fast it's going to go up in the weeks and months ahead. Tomorrow they're going to try to calm it down. Again, $30 to me, after what I've seen this weekend, would be Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, and I think the problem for people who've been waiting for a pullback to buy gold and silver physical, they're not going to be able to do it. You might be able to buy futures, but you won't be able to buy the real thing it will be very difficult, I think, and the premiums are going to be huge.
They're going to go way up. And before I forget, I got to bring this up because you mentioned Norwegian shipbroker and Norwegian caller, that I used to be a good friend of Arne Ness, who was a famous Norwegian shipbroker who married Diana Ross.
Yeah, he was a really good friend of a friend of my dad, a Norwegian guy called Bjorn Knudsen.
Bjorn Knudsen, I know it. Bjorn's a good friend of mine.
Oh, great boy.
Yeah, okay. I've been to Bjorn's place in Switzerland.
Yeah. Do you want to tell us about Arne Ness, though?
Oh, they were these guys were, incredibly rich 40 years ago and the biggest of the big time. And Bjorn and Arne I met in New York City and got to be good friends with Bjorn. And when I'm not married now, but me and my wife went to see Bjorn up in the Swiss Alps and just great people. And I just couldn't help but bring it up when you mentioned the Norway shipping.
Yeah. Yeah, Bjorn, I think Verbier, his place, isn't it?
Verbier, yeah.
Yeah.
I can't speak Norwegian, but jag talar bara lite svenska. I speak a little Swedish.
Okay, Svenska vacker flicka. Do you know that one?
Jag talar bara lite svenska. I can speak a little Swedish.
Yeah, Svenska vacker flicka means Swedish girls are pretty.
Yeah. So are the Norwegian girls.
Yeah. So back to the markets. What else are we to do with the? What do you want to talk about, Bill? What do you think the people, the viewers should know? Well,
just in general that, gold and silver are really cheap relative to other assets. You look at a HUI chart of the gold companies and you look at a NASDAQ chart, you look at the Bitcoins, the cryptos, it's because of this price suppression that, again, these wonderkin kids have exposed more about the silver suppression than I've been able to do for 20 years.
Yeah, and they did it in a week.
So, and I think it's going to, if GameStop, again, I don't know enough about it, but the price or earnings rate, the stock price is ridiculous. The silver price is half of, or less than what it should be without all this commotion, without it. This is the most real thing. Imagine one thing that's cuckoo in a way, but God bless them. I hope they make a fortune. It keeps going. But the silver thing has been is an accident waiting to happen for years.
Yeah, and the other thing as well, because gold has gone from 250 22 years ago to almost 2,000 now, and people say, what are you talking about? That they suppress or manipulate the price? It wouldn't be here. But I think the problem with that way of thinking is that you have to look at, if they didn't suppress and control the price, we wouldn't be in the situation that we are economically, financially, socially, because we wouldn't have the amount of debt that we have and leverage and derivatives in the system. And I think it's gonna annihilate this system when gold and silver go up. It will be the end of the party.
Well, that's why they've been suppressing it all these years. You are correct.
Yeah.
That's why it is where it is. And there's no telling what it can do and what it should do. I mean, for God's sakes, look what a Bitcoin has done. It's ridiculous. And I mean, Bitcoin falls to 30,000. I was at a conference 5 years ago, and Bitcoin had just gotten to be the same price as gold at 1,200. And there was a Bitcoin crypto crowd and the gold crowd, dual conference. And the crypto people were absolutely exuberant because it was $1,200, the same price as gold. Of course, I wasn't happy at all. And now here we were talking $1,900 gold versus 35,000 Bitcoin. So if gold goes bonkers, bonkers, bonkers. So, I mean, that's what it should have already done.
Yeah, I know. I guess, manipulation cannot last forever. And, the markets will, and I think these kids on, well, they're not kids because this guy who did the research for GameStop, his name is Keith Gill. He's 34. He's got a CFA. So, and he works as a marketing guy for an insurance company. So he's not a kid. And, yeah, they've helped, this happened in a week, basically 1 or 2 weeks. What the price did was quite amazing. But like you said, silver and gold, the leverage is more than 140%. It's 100 times the amount of paper that they suppressed it with. So it could make GameStop look like a picnic.
It could. Yeah. If the bullion banks are forced out because they can't get the physical supply to meet the demand, and they've got to cover their short positions. Oh my gosh. It would be too good to be true, but why not?
Yeah, they might even have to shut the Comex because they'd be cleaned out, the gold. I don't know.
It could happen.
Yeah. What about do you remember like the Hunt brothers? Because they also changed the rules there in 1980.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, they
I know the Hunt. I know some of the Hunt family here in Dallas. I've met them at the Dallas Country Club, and one of the granddaughters, Grace Hunt, the beauty queen, she works out of my gym, and they're a great family.
Yeah, what I read is that they started buying silver in the early 70s because Nixon closed the gold window and they couldn't buy gold. And they were loading up on physical silver the whole of the 70s. Most people say, oh, they came in and tried to corner the market in 1980, but that was not really true.
That's right. They just changed the rules on them. Crooks that the government and the Comex is, and you couldn't buy anymore. You could only sell. I mean, it's disgusting what goes on. And I'm hoping these Reddit people and Robinhood people can expose these bums.
Sorry, I just turned that phone off. Sorry about that.
All right.
I left the phone on. Okay. All right. What about the stock market, Bill? Have you got any views on that, or do you think the Fed's going to keep pumping the money? Or
they've kept pumping the money in, kept it up. There's a thing called the Plunge Protection Team, the working group on financial markets, which has legal authority to prop up the stock market, and I think they have. And, it's complicated, but because you think looking at the stock market, how great our economy is here in the United States. And everybody suffered because of this horrible COVID thing.
Yeah.
And you never know it by the stock market.
Yeah. I've always said that I think things will rebalance when the Dow-Gold ratio gets to 1-to-1, because in 1980 we got to 1-to-1. And I think is 1932 or 33, it got near to like 2-to-1. And I think in 1999, 2000, it got to around 46. And recently it went down to around 13. And we went back up in the last few months. But I think that's how it's going to happen. They're going to try to inflate. So we could have the stock market still around 20, 30,000. And gold is going to catch up, I think.
I'm with you.
Yeah. So what else? Do you want to tell the viewers, Bill, that you were what you did before you got into the markets?
No, I just laughing earlier. 100 years ago, 51 years ago, I was a starting wide receiver with the Patriots, which were Boston Patriots then, now New England Patriots. And it was a great experience and met all kinds of had great memories. And
Yeah.
it was so much fun. And I hurt my knee in the off season, and that was it. But I did it, and proud of it. And it was something good to have, to look back on.
And yeah, so I guess what could happen on Comex as well, I think we're going to open in about an hour and 10 minutes. You could have limit ups, couldn't you? And could you tell the viewers how that works, the limit ups?
It hasn't happened in so long. It's almost like,
Yeah, you forgot about it. Yeah.
I think silver is $3 or something like that.
I see. So they'll stop the trading for
but only like 10 minutes or so.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
Our first Majestic stock was out of order on that we couldn't trade for longer than they would be able to shut down the futures.
Yeah. It's funny because with the first Majestic, I think on Wednesday, one of the viewers contacted me, and then we started looking at the WSB board. I got into there and we were looking at the stocks, and they suggested another stock, NAKD, naked. And we bought that and we made like $500 in like an hour. And then we sold and then I took the profit and bought some more First Majestic, which is weird because then they started talking about First Majestic.
Yeah. I think it's got a long ways to go.
Yeah. So what about the strategy now for people maybe who haven't started buying gold and silver with all that is going to go on in the next few weeks? Maybe wait for things to settle down, or
well, you think, buy half and hope that it's, it goes down.
Yeah. That's a good thing. Yeah, I've always done that too. Buy half, and then if it goes up, it's not great, but you already have some.
Yeah, that's what I would do. And I've been in all my stuff. A lot of my money's been in silver anyway, so I'm just going, oh, please.
Yeah.
After all these years. But it's a very exciting time, and like I said, I've never seen anything like it, and we'll see how it turns out. But at least the anticipation is quite something.
Yeah, I see here. Lord, have you heard of Greg Manarino, Bill?
Yes, he's on the
I think he also was disgusted on Friday, and I think he also liquidated his trades and closed his brokerage account, which is funny because I did that the same day.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I speak to my friend John Emery of Sprott Asset Management. We've been friends for a long time. He's a real sports advocate and extremely wealthy guy in Canada. And, is retired, and but he's on top of the markets like crazy. And he reads for as much as can be. And when I talked to him about this is what they've done. As they mentioned earlier, the gold silver share prices are horrible relative to what's happened outside of a First Majestic and some other ones.
Yeah.
And what they've done is they made the crypto such a good thing and the NASDAQ such a good thing that people wanted to get out of the gold silver shares. So now maybe at a time when they can make the biggest moves in history, people are out.
Yeah.
Well, I couldn't be more bullish, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I have to find a broker that I can trust here, maybe to put. But I think gold and silver though they'll do really well anyways. The miners too. You have to be careful with the miners though, because I remember in 2008. I had some miners, and after the market topped, the stock market, when it started dropping, miners dropped quite a bit as well, and they've never really gone up that well after 2008. So you have to be very careful, not to be greedy.
I'm waiting to make a comeback during all that time. I've stuck on to some of these buggers, and finally the ones I've been in the last 2 months have taken off. Contrary to most, but I only had to wait 8 or 9 years.
Yeah, that's right.
So I'm no great shakes with this stuff, but I think they're going to go ballistic.
Yeah, I'm just going to go see some, because I haven't usually when I do the live stream, I take a lot of questions, but as I'm talking to you, I haven't been able to do as many questions. Let's see. Any views on like copper or platinum, Bill?
Like I said, I used to be a limit position trader in copper, but I think commodities in general are all going to go a lot higher. Recently, for example, it's been frustrating because copper went to new highs, oil's made a big comeback, and silver just sat there in the tank.
Yeah.
And corn is just made a big move. So I think you're going to see all commodities take off. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I've been following the CRB for the last few months, and it's just starting to pick up. And actually, even gold has actually outperformed all of them, so they're just catching up with gold and silver as well. So yeah, and I talked about the gold silver ratio. I think it was Thursday or Friday video. The fact that it was breaking that 70 level, and I think it's going to go right through there, and we could go very quickly down to, 30, I think was the low in the gold silver ratio in 2011.
It could go to 25 or 30 easily, and probably based on what's happened now should.
Yeah, and I did a video yesterday about the origin of the dollar, how it used to be a certain weight of silver, and then the gold used to be a certain weight. Well, it still is in the Constitution, and the ratio that they use is 15-1.
Yeah, that's right.
So, and it worked until what, 1933. So,
well, it wouldn't surprise me to see it at 15. So we're going to hopefully enjoy that in the coming year.
yeah. Anything else you'd like to tell our viewers before we wrap it up?
No, just after all this, we said it a couple of times, but after all this languishing and misery in silver, which worst acting market I've ever seen in 50 years.
Yeah.
Can go from the worst to the best.
Yeah.
And it can do it fast. That's how bad the suppression has been. And I just couldn't be more excited, more upbeat. I know, as I said a couple of times now, I've never seen anything like this weekend. Everywhere I turn, phone calls, messages, and it can happen. And the bad guys weren't ready for this one. They've been ready for a lot of stuff. They weren't ready for this. That I can promise you.
No, and I still think I don't watch the mainstream, but sometimes I see a video that talks about, CNBC or Bloomberg, or I still think they haven't realized the impact, the significance of what happened last week with Wall Street bets and GameStop, that it's not just it's not just about the stock market. It's about everything, the whole system being rigged. And I think that's what we need to realize. And just another question here, Bill, maybe you can, they're asking me, but what do you think is the real value of silver? Maybe you know something about what you could buy with silver in the 50s or 60s, because the coins were silver back.
It's all going to change now, so it's a tough question. All I can say is that I've been looking for silver to go to 100 for years.
Yeah.
And probably the last time we spoke, I said silver's going to 100.
Yeah.
Never in my lifetime would I agree it would start moving because of something like we're talking about now.
Yeah.
Mind blowing.
I think it's going to be a rebalancing of value, because I was listening to Doug Casey this evening, and he did a chat with someone that works with him, I think. And he said, we've had 40 years of financialization, where the Fed has printed so much money, manipulated rates. And, the stock market, he said, is a casino. Stock market should be a place where people go and raise capital for productive businesses. So yeah, the value of silver could be, it's really hard to know, but it's going to be a lot. You're going to be able to do a lot more with silver than you've been able to for the last 50 years. And that's why I've been telling people for the last, since 2016, when I started doing my videos, that you need to have gold and silver.
Good for you.
So we've got El Tomo here. Tried to call a few minutes ago with a question. Might as well ask it here then. If the price of silver goes bonkers, what ratio is good to convert silver to gold?
Well, we just sort of went over that.
Yeah, around 15-1, I guess.
15, 30-1, 15-1, yeah.
Or 25, yeah.
25, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think in the last 50 years, the gold silver ratio, the mean price has been around 50. But I think this time, if silver really is let loose, it could go right through that 50 very easily.
I couldn't
So,
agree more.
yeah. So anywhere between 15 and 30, I would say.
Yeah,
Wouldn't you say so? Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right, Bill.
Well,
Thanks a
thank you.
lot.
Good talking to you, and fingers crossed for this week. And
Yeah.
hopefully, I got have a big smile on all for my face and everybody else's face that's involved in this, because it's been a long haul.
Okay. All right. Let me just say, okay, everyone. Thank you for being here for the live stream. I guess we're going to stay up late here in London to see where the market opens. And you will have a video tomorrow morning as well, of course. So thank you, everyone. And I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Thanks, Vera. Good stuff. Well, I got to get going. Good talking to you.
Thanks, Bill. Bye.